everyone. Welcome back to the Real Estate Startup Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Michaela Potterbaum, and this is Benjamin Goodpasture in Redding, California. I'm in Nashville. And today we're excited to bring you one of our bonus episodes here where we're going to just shoot through a bunch of different types of investing that you can do when it comes to real estate. We're primarily still talking about residential investing, although we might touch into some other things as well. But yeah, we just want to kind of walk through some of our favorite ways to invest, maybe even some ways we have not invested yet, and maybe talk through some of the pros and cons of these different types of ways to invest. So yes, Benjamin, to start us off, what do you think about fix and flip strategy? What are your pros and cons? Is this your bread and butter? This is kind of one of the things you started with, right?
Yeah, fix and flip, I would say, is the foundation for investing, and it has been my foundation in the sense of finding distressed properties, adding value to them, and selling them for a profit. To me, that was, 2019, 20, 21, it was just like on fire. It was hard to mess up because of appreciation being so off the charts because of interest rates in the economy. But now interest rates have been high. And so it's been a little bit challenging. People haven't been wanting to sell their properties over the last couple of years. So I think there's opportunity in fix and flip still, mainly because there is an inventory shortage. I think I heard like 2 million is how many we need homes built. And so we're in this funny market where rates are still pretty high. People are holding on to their stuff, and there's just not a lot of great inventory. So if you can find something that needs work, a lot of people don't have the skill set to do the work. Maybe they don't have the cash to fix it up. So I think that's the opportunity for fix and flippers. And I think if you find stuff and you sell it under the medium home price, I think it might be in the 400,000, 300,000 range. I think that is the sweet spot to prevent risk. I think if you go much higher than that, there's less buyers, especially because people with rates being higher, that means what people can afford is much less. That's what they qualify for because of the rates being, higher than usual.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you say to someone that's like, yes, I like that strategy? What are some like bullet point strategies that you can do going in to look for fix and flip specifically? I'm thinking of like the 70% rule with ARV. A lot of people talk about that. Is that something that you follow? And maybe we should explain what that even is.
Well, I think the foundation of this whole thing is deals. It's finding a good property for a good price. And years back when, flippers were just crushing, I think it was easy to find deals. You could find deals on market. And because of the appreciation and the high demand, that's what made it easier. So I think now you got to find a great deal. And there are not as many of those around, especially on market. So off market, I think is important. And I think, we talked to Jordan today, and one thing he said to me, and he kind of mentioned it, but didn't go into it in the podcast. Definitely listen to this podcast with Jordan.
Yeah.
He was talking about what he realized with finding good deals, if it was buying businesses or real estate, it's better to farm deals versus hunting deals. And I was wondering, at first I didn't know what he meant. And so what he meant by that is when you farm deals, you're basically planting seeds and creating a brand and a reputation where deals come to you versus you going and finding and hunting deals. That was his kind of like epiphany. That's what he learned. I mean, he went all out, bought a plane to go hunt deals.
That's awesome.
That's the level he was at. He was like, we bought a plane so I can go find and meet with people and find these deals and close deals really quickly. And so after all that, they sold the plane, and you realize that farming, having deals come to you is better. And I realized that too with social media, networking, relationships. Most of my deals have come from people knowing me, word of mouth relationship, not, mailers or PPC, these other revenue or avenues of getting deals. So that's one thing that I think is important, is just putting yourself out there, letting people know what you're doing. And that's the best way to find deals.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. I know for me, when I'm looking for deals for fix and flip specifically, I am looking at wholesaler lists. So I'm putting myself on these email lists in my area, and I'm finding these people that are finding off-market deals, and they're essentially selling the contract. And sometimes the deals are really good, and it's usually much better than on-market deals, but not always. So it's really important to understand how to comp deals, how to make sure that you are getting the best bang for your buck, and just kind of having other people look at the deals with you to make sure, okay, this is looking like a good deal, especially when you're getting started. So yeah, every city usually has several different people that are finding off-market deals. If you just start kind of looking around on Facebook or asking other investors, there's usually ways to get on those lists. And that's a great way, I think, to get started in the in the fix and flip space specifically, as far as acquisition and finding the deals.
Okay, one more thing there. I think another key thing to remember is having realistic ARVs. Because before, when things were doing really well, everything was appreciating.
Yeah.
You could aim low, and then it would even go above. And there's this margin. I feel like now margins are thinner. So you need to really bake in margins and comp stuff based off like conservative numbers. Don't aim for, the record breaking ARV on that street. Like, I would tone it down a little bit just to be safe. Yeah, because it may take longer to sell.
Yeah.
And sometimes if that happens, the market is like, well, it's on the market for a while, so they think they can get a good deal. Buyers think they're in control, so they're going to lowball you or make a lower offer.
Yeah. No, I think that's really good. Man, there's so much more to say about it, but just for the sake of time, let's hit the next one, which would be buy and hold. Why do you or do you not go for this strategy? What are your thoughts on buy and hold?
Buy and hold in this market's tough because of interest rates. It's hard to just make properties cash flow unless you have a lot of money to put down on a property. And I'm sure there's some markets where, maybe the Midwest, certain markets that pencils, but I'm finding buy and hold deals. I'm not really looking at those as much. I rather do flips, and if I see something that I want to hold, maybe I will, but I just have projects going on that, like Cave Springs, like a resort. So it doesn't really meet my buy box at the moment.
Yeah, no. And we were just talking about this before the show. I love the concept of buy and hold, but it does seem like it's generally it's just harder to find a cash flowing buy and hold right now. That said, people really, they are definitely finding them. It's like in every market, there's going to be good deals. Just you have to go find them. So I think that, they're around. And again, it does depend on the market. I know right now, a lot of people are investing in cities like Indianapolis and Columbus and some of these, like you said, Midwest cities that maybe aren't like the most glorious places, but there are deals there, and the population is growing. There's demand for rentals. So there's all kinds of different ways you can do that. But again, for the sake of time, we'll just kind of do a mini deep dive on that one, maybe a mini dive.
But even with buy and hold, buy and hold is the key to building wealth. I think most people know that's what you need to do. Flipping is a business. Essentially, it's creating a lot of income. And I think in this market, if you can build up your income, then you can put down more money on buy and hold properties, and they might pencil out. So that's just something to consider.
Yeah. And I think that kind of brings us to the next strategy, which can very much be a kind of combination of the two, fix and flip and buy and hold, which is really the BRRRR method. And that stands for basically buying the property, renovating the property or rehabbing the property, and renting it out, different strategies on, it could be long-term, short-term, midterm, and then refinancing. So you get your money pulled back out of the deal and then repeating it. So that's what BRRRR stands for. But I think for me, that's probably my favorite way in this market to cash flow as much as you can. Some people don't even worry about like like some people are fine just to break even or even lose a little bit of money monthly, which I don't think I could do, but because some people are looking at the equity and the gain there, and other people are looking at the cash flow. But I personally really love to look at both. Like, how can I find properties that cash flows enough to where it's covering my expenses and a little extra, and it's also gaining equity in a good market. So what are your thoughts on the BRRRR method?
Same way. I love it. It's been my favorite strategy besides fix and flip, which, I think it's the same in a lot of ways, but I've been doing one that's on a resort right now. That's essentially a BRRRR.
A huge BRRRR.
Yeah, it's a big one. And it's taking me a lot longer than I thought because of rates. And with that asset class being a hotel hospitality, it just has different requirements on value. So you need more financial history, it's NOI, and that just takes time. And typical, apartments, single family, you can be in and out in 6 months, a year, typically, pretty quick.
Right.
I'm pushing a little over a year and a half. It'll be 2 years in November. So it'll be about 2.5 years before I refinance this property because of just how complex it is and what is needed to get the value. Yeah. So, but with most people, I think BRRRRs can be done. I've flipped several multifamily properties that I would have done the BRRRR method because of rates and the cash flow wasn't what I'm used to. It made more sense for me to sell it and make a better profit and use that money elsewhere.
Yeah, no, it's really good. A few of the other things we talked about were there's so many other strategies we can go into, but like little mini, just kind of nugget versions of these other ones would be new construction. And for some people, especially in the state of California, people are building a lot of ADUs right now. There's a lot of opportunity there. And I don't know if Benjamin, you want to speak into the ADU opportunity specifically for California. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if we go to the problem is affordable housing. Mm-hmm. And so accessory dwelling units, ADUs, are one solution for solving that, right? So I think it's low-hanging fruit because you can build renovate your garage if it's attached, and you can do that as low as 45, 50 grand.
Yeah.
And those are renting out $1,200 to $1,500 a month. So you're, over 1%. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And then I think they're calling them DADUs, like detached ADUs.
Mm-hmm. Dadus.
Yeah, as a thing too. So, those are more expensive to build, but I think it's great. I think it's a way for people to essentially house hack, pay down their mortgage, maybe have a little extra income if they've got a really good rate already. And it's just making things more affordable for people. And then now in certain states, you can actually subdivide your ADU off your property and, sell it that way. And that creates more affordable housing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know there's opportunity here too in Nashville where I am. It's not as much of a conversation, but there are several people that are doing it and doing really well with it, with the ADU thing. I know just yesterday I walked a house in Columbia, Tennessee that they had built, I think it was a standalone, so it's essentially a dadu in their backyard. And this property was on such a steep hill, but I was like, they were really determined to add this thing back there, and they did it, and it looks really good, and it's going to be such a cool value add for that property in this neighborhood. And so I asked my friend I was with, I'm like, is this area permitted for this? He's like, yeah, I mean, the whole city is, all of Nashville is really, it's like the opportunity is there. We just, over here, it's not as much of a conversation. So I think, at least in my world. So I think that's something I'm curious about as well, regionally here. But yeah, I mean, to wrap up, I think one of the things we kind of, in a way, skipped, again, we didn't really go into construction, but that kind of stands alone. There's maybe a lot more. It's just a different world with construction. Have you done any new construction? You used to be in it, right?
Yeah, in 2006 through 2008, I was a project manager for a big nationwide builder, and we're building subdivisions, putting in tract homes and, building townhomes, single family homes. And I was in that. That was a crazy business, crazy time, obviously.
Yeah.
But I haven't done any like spec homes or any, I would say, ground up like custom homes out here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, I have several friends that are in that space. I'm sure you do too. And I tend to notice that most of the people that are in new construction are people that either started with fix and flip, or, you usually start somewhere a little bit less permit heavy and, design heavy. But I know several people that's kind of become their niche, and that's really all they do now. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and something I haven't done a ton of, but would be cool to dive into it at some point.
Yeah, a lot of contractors, I feel like that's the ones that do a lot of that because they have the experience. And so they realize, hey, I can invest too, right? It's like they start by doing work for other people, and then they start building and doing spec homes. And then they maybe start buying and developing land. It's kind of that progress of like, okay, I'm going to do remodels for other people. And then I'm going to build my house maybe. And then I'm going to build a house for someone else. And then I'm going to buy land and develop it and build 20 houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
totally.
Yeah.
So to maybe wrap up really quick, one strategy, it's not necessarily about actually buying property, but we touched on it earlier, but that's wholesaling. And a lot of people use this method as kind of the very first entry point into real estate, especially if they don't have a lot of cash reserves or liquidity. So have you done any wholesaling, Benjamin?
Not like technically, like from the sense of trading contracts or assigning a contract.
Yeah.
I would say I've done it. I remember I bought a 3-plex that I found a buyer. I ended up closing on it, and literally the same day I closed on it, I got it into contract with someone else and made a quick 50 grand doing it like that.
Let's go.
So that was pretty great. I'm trying to wholesale this property right now. Essentially, I would still close on it. I'm not exactly putting like, hey, I'm assigning it to someone else. So I'm still having to fund the deal. But, from the traditional sense, that hasn't been a disposition that I've used, an exit strategy, if you will. But I think it's a great strategy if you don't have access to money or you don't have your own personal, big piggy bank. You can get deals done. You can have these little $5, $10, $15, $20,000 singles and doubles hits, and that can really build up your cash reserves to really invest and be a great business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think wholesaling is really interesting. Some people in the real estate world really don't like wholesalers or wholesaling. It can get a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth for some people, but I think when it's done with integrity and it's done well, there's a lot of opportunity, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of properties out there, and a lot of those owners either they don't know what to do with them, or they're burnout, or, there's different things. And so wholesaling often comes in as a way to help offload distressed properties and kind of funnel them through to investors. So it's a really interesting way to, like you said, build up your reserves so you can get more cash, because it's really important to have some cash to be able to put towards the down payment of a house if you want to be able to do like a fix and flip, or really any type of loan you get. You're typically going to need some level of reserves or liquidity or collateral to go against that loan. So that's the next bonus episode we're about to dive into. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for jumping in on this conversation. Hopefully it was helpful for you, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So let us know.
Peace.